Well, the second of License to Thrill. Now, we're always thinking, okay, what am I going to talk about this time? You know, there's thousands of licensees. Let's choose something. And seeing as Stuart always coppers me in when someone's trying to sell Deka items, I thought we'd do Deka because it's absolutely amazing. Well, it's not that amazing, but it's pretty good. Right. Deka Plastics Incorporated of Elizabeth, New Jersey. If you have a Deka item, you will see that inscripted on the bottom of everything you buy from Deka or you get from Deka. If you're lucky enough, you normally got a sticker on there as well. There's not a lot of information about the history of Deka. There's no website about it. I found a few people talking about working there. So the company seemed to have existed in that place or all of its existence. And it seemed to go from around like the 1960s to it probably up until about 1990. I can't find anything with 1990 printed on it, and there's a lot of Deka out there. The earliest thing was 1969. What did Deka do? They made plastic cups, bowls, decanters. They went a bit crazy with some of the Star Wars stuff at the end, but it was pretty much the same kind of stuff throughout the ranges they did. I found a few bits and pieces which they had, like cups with feet on, and other effects like ears and sort of heads that flapped. But they didn't do a great, interesting range of stuff. Maybe they were quite happy with what they did. It was easy to produce. So those bowls and cups, they were made of a substance called melamine. Melamine was kind of a hard plastic, invented in 1834, but not really used until the 1930s when all this stuff started to get produced. What is melamine? It's a type of plastic, durable and virtually unbreakable. I'm not completely convinced it's unbreakable because I have a Empire Strikes Back cup with some big gouges out of it, so you can heat it up and destroy it. So it's an organic-based, nitrogen-rich compound, and it's great for using these products because suppose it doesn't break, if you drop it, it will not break. If you bite it, it won't break. It's supposed to look and feel like a fine porcelain and ceramic. It's also very good for food, and you can use it in conventional oven and microwave use, but I'm not sure whether modern microwaves would agree with that, but obviously the integrity of modern melamine materials is slightly better than it was back in the 60s and the 70s. And of course it's perfect for indoor and outdoor entertaining. So if you had a kids party, this was fantastic because you could, have these out for kids, they could throw them around, they could drop them, and you could use them again and again and again. If you look at the Star Wars ranges and other ranges of licensees, these things are really, really colourful and entertaining. And that's because you could actually get them printed. So you could put designs in there and print them. There is a kind of I would say, a flow of design throughout the entirety of everything I've seen from Deka. It's a white base, and then there's a printed image on it, and that's it. So like I said, there was very rarely did they make something that was slightly different. Let's talk about the process for printing on melamine, because it is quite relevant to why we see the same kind of design on there. And the fact that we hear people saying, oh, it's stickers and stuff. It's not stickers. So surface preparation.
Start of the process, obviously you want to get the printed images and the designs onto the plates and the other crockery. So they start off by taking a pressed, cured and polished plate, which is called a blank, and that would then be coated with a thin layer of a cool, uncured liquid melamine, and that would then be ready for the next stage, which is the image transfer.
I found this fascinating, actually. So the image transfer would be a very, very thin film, and it would have the image of the design would actually be on that film, and it would be laid down over the melamine plate, but as it's still wet. It would obviously be a bigger size because you've got to allow for shrinkage and placement during the curing process. And then when that's done and once it's cured, a second thin coat of cool liquid melamine is then painted or sprayed over the top of the image and the plate, so it's completely cured inside the plate. And I never knew it was done like that at all. You couldn't possibly peel anything off this because there's a layer over the top.
I mean, I've seen people say, oh yeah, this is a Deka item and the label's coming off. I thought, okay, that's strange. So I had a look at my stuff and I thought, okay, it's not coming off anywhere. It's not chips, not damaged, not anything. So that can't be right. That's why I started looking into the whole melamine thing. I thought that is relevant to, it's not a sticker. It's actually almost like, it's not embedded in it, but it's part of the production process. It's actually there. It's not stuck on afterwards. So that's why these things are lasting. The images are still there.
So it's almost like a lacquer put over the top of it to prevent it coming away. Yeah, very, very thin film, yeah. Fascinating.
The curing, which is the sort of third and final stage of the process for the monoline plates, is the plate moves on into an oven where it cures at a temperature between 200 and 300 degrees, and under heat the liquid melamine bonds with the previously hardened plate and encases the image or design between the two new hardened layers of melamine.
But they did have the Star Wars license from 1978 to 1985, and they covered Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, and they went a little bit Ewok at the end. According to the Tomark Guide, which is one of the only sources that actually talked about this in any depth, they did actually sell their products in the United States, Canada, Korea, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Taiwan, England, Ireland, France, Venezuela, and Australia. But I cannot find anything, and I don't believe they did anything other than just sell those products as they were. There really isn't any packaging. There's the only packaging what we can find is the stickers. Well, actually, still, I do actually have a bowl with a sticker still on it, so obviously it wasn't used. No boxes. There were some displays, which we'll come to. So it was a very easy range to sell because you didn't need a package because they weren't going to break. If you threw it on the floor, it's not going to break. So that just goes to show how confident they were of their product. It'd be fascinating to know if anyone ever saw this in another country, but I certainly can't remember seeing this in England.
No, from me, mate. I just, it's one of those products that I never ever remember seeing anywhere in a shop, and it's only really since I got back into collecting that it actually sort of popped up on my radar. And the only thing that I think I find even relatively interesting is the jug, the picture jug for Empire Strikes Back, which I think is a really cool looking thing. If I did collect that kind of stuff outside of the UK, I definitely want to hunt one of those things down because it is a really cool looking thing.
You'll see that that design feature on lots of other licensees, which they did have a lot of. So, guys, if you want to just chip in here. Now, as I was looking around, things that just came up. I saw Smurf, Star Trek, Pac-Man, Richard's favourite franchisee, Lady Lovelocks and the Pixie Tales, which I know he does collect quite heavily. But just shout things out. There were other ones you've seen.
Thundercats. There were sort of generic clowns and Halloween creatures, and they did some animals. There was something called Hip the Hippo and Duke the Dog. GoBot,
That's cool.
Spider-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, E.T., Garfield, you name it. I think they had a hand in just about every licensee there was going.
Disney, Star Trek, Marvel characters. They seem to have a tie-in with Disney for the parks. So I found a lot of sort of Disney park characters advertising it. I'd love to find out if I was trying to find a website like a Deka collector, but it seemed more like people were plate collectors or something, and they featured in those. So if anyone knows of a Deka collecting website, I'd love to find out. But it went on forever. Just kept finding another Care Bears, which again is Stuart's favourite, along with Strawberry Shortcake. And Dukes of Hazzard, that was another one I found, which is like, okay, nowadays you wouldn't be able to do that because of the flag. The lineups, I said, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and some Ewok stuff. Now, I'm trying not to list all this stuff out. They did various size soup bowl and bowls, a large cereal bowl. There were tumblers, pitchers, mugs, and also my favourite, which I keep missing out on auctions, compartment plates. And that is where I kind of want to sort of start really on the design of stuff. If you look at the range of the characters, so we've got Luke, Darth, C-3PO, R2, Leia, Stormtrooper, Jawa, Tuscan Raider, and Chewbacca. This came up the last month's Arthur Clarke shoes. There's someone missing from that range. Can you see who it is?
Missing Han again, isn't it?
Han again. So we've gone with Tuscan Raider. This Tuscan Raider was, we're seeing he's featuring all the time, and he's knocked out poor little Han Solo. There was where's Han Solo? No, we'll have a Tuscan Raider. Does anyone want to give me a theory on that, of why we've gone Tuscan Raider and not Han Solo, who was one of the major characters? Is it something about Han Solo that we have forgotten that wasn't particularly popular at the time? Was he too much of a rogue?
Surely there's got to be something like image rights, isn't it?
He did not appear on stuff. Surely if they got the license, they got license to, they're not negotiating.
I wonder if it's because you've got Luke and Leia on there. I mean, they are definitely the two lead characters of the movie. But beyond that, certainly for the first Star Wars movie, and to some extent the others as well, a lot of the licensees chose to go with the aliens and the robots and the masked characters. Now, whether they were just more saleable than the humans, I don't know. But I think probably something like a Tuscan Raider or a Jawa is possibly just that little bit more appealing to your average 7 or 8-year-old kid than maybe other human characters. Again, for the Star Wars movie, Ben Kenobi, really main character, and he's not on there either. So I wonder whether it's simply a choice to focus more on the non-human characters.
Yeah, because Luke and I would agree with that. I think Luke and Leia are kind of kid-friendly, aren't they? They're young, they're groovy cats, and whereas Han Solo was a bit of a rogue. He was like the older brother, the kind of like dodgy uncle, whatever, driving around his shit with his dog. It wasn't kid-friendly. But then again, Darth Vader is going around strangling people to death. And he's on there. I would agree to the extent that the robots and masked characters are more interesting, but then if you're going down the kid route, you wouldn't even have him on there, would you? Tuscan Raiders are pretty scary as well, really, weren't they? Jawas are kind of goofy. Chewie's lovely. And then you've got this murdering get, Darth Vader.
I wonder if it has something to do with the images that are available. I mean, if you look at Chewie, that's quite a poor composition. It doesn't look quite. It looks more like Bigfoot. And I wonder if they didn't have a suitable image of Han that wouldn't work with the rest of the images. Because a lot of them are fun shots. A lot of them are fun, almost as if they're posing for a passport photo. The two exceptions are probably Vader and Luke, and both of those had to be on the blade.
The overall design, it's quite consistent. That big red logo. Very light blue kind of star field behind those characters, and those characters are in their poses. So they were really, really ultra consistent with the whole design throughout that range. Yeah, I would love to find out somewhere how they made these decisions to put whichever characters on. You'll see in that picture, that's a label that was stuck on the bottom of the dish, and that's the only packaging you'll get. You have stickers attached, including a Super Bowl sticker, which states the usage from soup to nuts. The tumbler sticker just said tumbler, and a bowl as bowl, mug as mug, and all that sort of stuff. And they're all shiny, kind of goldish kind of stickers. And they recommended it was dishwasher safe on the upper rack, which I'm not sure the dishwasher I have will probably destroy it these days. It seems to bake everything. So let's just move into Empire, because again, I don't want to focus too much on every single tiny item, because it'll be here forever. But on the Empire Strikes Back range, they changed up a little bit. We got a range of bowls. We also got 4 10-ounce mugs, and they started to group the characters together. So we had a Chewie Droids, Luke Leia Han mug, Vader Fett mug, and a Yoda mug. And on our compartment plates, which again is kind of like a central point to all the designs that went from here, we this time went for Darth Droids, a very smiley Leia. Was not from the film, it seems. That's just one of a promotional shot. Luke, Chewie, and now they're joined by Han. Han's there in his Hoth outfit. Fett and Yoda. But again, we're missing out on all sorts of possibilities. No Lando, and all sorts of things. No ships or anything. No Wampers. Again, any thoughts about the section there? We do have a Han. Any reason why we've suddenly got a Han? Did he prove more popular than they thought? Maybe he was a bit more child friendly, or maybe it was his love relationship with Leia than anything on. What about that very smiley Leia shot?
I wonder if Deka went into partnership with Parker, and that's why they put Han on there. Subliminal messages.
There's a bit more. I'm trying to work out the background. It looks like it's. I'm just looking at my plates I've got here. Am I right in saying there's a bit of Hoth going on there?
Yeah, it's
on the
one
background.
McCabe.
What McCabe is it?
And I would say, is it Bespin?
It's hard to tell. It looks like it's a bit of both.
There's clearly space next to Luke to have another 2 images.
I've got the bowl in front of me, and there's a huge space there on both sides. Now, on my bowl, I'm not sure you can see it in that image, but you've actually got the trademark information, so maybe they had to have it there. And because of that, they had to leave some space. I don't know. But yeah, it is slightly odd where they got a bit of a gap and just didn't throw some more figures in there. Same design went throughout the entire range. Well, now we come to Return of the Jedi. Now, this is where it starts to change a little bit, and we'll come to an even bigger change in a minute. Okay, what's different now? what's different. So I'm showing the guys a compartment plate. So what is changed with the style of the of the whole range for Return of the Jedi?
It's artistic images, isn't it? It's not images from movie posters or stills or anything like that.
I don't want to be too harsh on the range, but it starts to kind of lose it a little bit. Now, we've still got things like soup bowl, cereal bowl. We're getting into tumblers. We've got our pitcher again. And we've got a few things that don't appear on the plate. So on some of the bowls and stuff, you've got a Max Rebo scene. You've got a Jabba and Salacious Crumb scene. You're getting different scenes. It's kind of like the early part of Return of the Jedi, but they're actually putting in there like the other ranges where it was the same figures used throughout all the mugs, on the side of the mugs. You are actually getting different scenes. They're just going, right, Return of the Jedi scene, that sounds good, stick it on the side of a bowl. There's all sorts of things that are not quite the same.
You're getting very Dixie Cuppy in your imagery here, because the Dixie Cups did exactly the same in the Return of the Jedi line. They changed the artwork to be more like this than on the earlier Dixie Cups, which were much more, had a Marvel feel to them.
And we'll come to with the display headers that featured in shops and stuff, that what was actually happening with the range. It seemed that they started to lose control a little bit, and that takes off into kind of the Ewok section, where they started packaging things together, and there didn't seem to be much consistency. It was like, let's just shove those things in together. When you actually have Return of the Jedi and Ewok things put together, it didn't really make a great deal of sense. But on the Return of the Jedi stuff, the Return of the Jedi logo is on the top on some things, it's on the bottom of others. They really are. There is no consistency whatsoever. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a start of the end of Deka, because I said they did end in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. So maybe there was a change in management. Something seemed to happen. Maybe they weren't checking enough stuff. Maybe they were just trying to get this stuff out because it was selling, and they were just shoving it out, getting images on there. It was a little bit of a shame where things were going missing. So that does take me on to the babies and Ewoks. And I think this is one of the most bizarre things I've heard of in a Star Wars range. The baby's first feeding set. If you've got a Tomart's guide near you, I don't think I could find an image online of the baby's first feeding set. But it's got it's a 5-piece set. It's a spoon and fork, a Return of the Jedi compartment dish, a tumbler and a bowl. I think there was something else in there as well, but I can't find what it was. The packaging of the actual items, this is only kind of like the packaging I've seen. It wasn't Star Wars packaged. It was Deka branded. There was nothing there that said Return of the Jedi or Ewoks or something. It was just cardboard with their own stuff on. For a first baby's feeding set, you're looking at things like Lando Skiffguard or evil characters. An Emperor's Royal Guard was on some of the things. These are things that do little tiny babies care what they're looking at. Surely it should have just been an Ewok set with just Ewoks everywhere. There were Ewok items in there, but there's also Return of the Jedi stuff in there as well. A little bit of same with the Wicket the Ewok 3-pieces child set. Tell me why am I saying it's inconsistent?
I've looked at this image so many times and I cannot see what it is that you're twisting about.
I can't. I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Right, we've got a Wicket the Ewok plate. We've got an Ewok plate that you're writing on. Then we've got Return the Jedi stuff. So it's just, it's not even consistent. It's just like throw it in there. It's got Ewoks on it, shove it in. It's absolutely fine. So it's just that in a Deka box. It's just a 3-piece child set. I love my 3-piece child set. Kids of all ages. It's just a melamine plate and bowl and a mug. Plate and bowl, thermoplastic mug. And there's just nothing there that screams at me, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars, Wicket, the Ewok. It's just all over the place. Today you wouldn't get away with that. You would have to have it all branded and have Star Wars on there and Lucasfilm on the box and stuff. But no, it's just shove anything in there. They didn't even bother to make a Wicket the Ewok mug. They just used the Return of the Jedi one. And you're seeing the image. So again, it's just like it is a little bit all over the place. Advertising. Now, this is where it becomes very, very strange. Now, we've talked about the sort of photographic images of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and then the kind of drawn images on Return of the Jedi. Now, if you have it goes the opposite way around. For the Star Wars Deka dump display header, which is a really nice image, it's a drawn image without any consistency to what was actually produced, apart from the red Star Wars logo. Anyone want to talk me through the composition of those images, anybody?
Okay, so what you've got there then is, you've said you've got your red Star Wars logo, very typical, very common across a lot of products. You've even got the yellow stripe coming down, which is very reminiscent of the book cover and various other things. And this one's got collector's edition on it. But the Luke, the Leia are, let's face it, if they weren't on this item with Star Wars written above it, you would struggle to identify Luke and Leia. Leia, hairstyle, has she got buns? Sort of. She's got a white dress on with a huge necklace around her neck and what's possibly a cape billowing in the background. Luke, you can see his utility belt. He's got his bindings around his legs. He's got no lightsaber or anything. Darth Vader, you can tell it's Darth Vader, but I think I could draw better with my right hand than whoever's drew that Darth Vader. Quite a lot going on with the eyes as well, which is a bit weird. It was probably the best for me drawn out of him. You know, whoever's drawn this possibly better at drawing robots and droids than are of human likenesses. Yeah, I would give that a solid 3 out of 10.
I really love it. I think it reminds me of, the Clark's shoebox artwork. That Vader specifically looks very much like the Clark's artwork. I love it. I think it's a great display. Something I've never seen before either, so it's a new one on me, and I really like it.
Reminds me of is the Marvel comic artwork, and that in particular, that image of Leia with her cape billowing out behind her. I'm sure in one of the very early Marvel comics there was a poster of Leia wearing a billowing cape, very, very similar to that. So I wonder if there's a little bit of inspiration being taken from the Marvel comics line at all.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I'm just intrigued by Leia's pose. She looks very regal with the cape billowing for no apparent reason, but she's not in action pose, so why is the cape billowing away? Well, she seems to be sitting down with her hands on each other, looking very like a finishing school pose. It's very, very odd. Yeah, the rest of the image I like because you've got Darth Vader's eyes, which are sort of sparkling yellow, and both of their hair has this kind of same kind of reflection on it. But it's just Leia's pose. I've never seen it like it. And we've also got those two, Darth, and then R2-D2. Okay, no Chewbacca or C-3PO to balance that out. It's just those four. Very bizarre. Like I said, it was images. This is, again, great artwork, not in line with the range of stuff it was advertising. Let's move on to Empire Strikes Back. Anyone fancy going through this? Because Darth Vader's reappeared.
It looks as if it's been drawn by the same guy. You've got Empire Strikes Back logo at the top. And then you've got the characters on there. So you've got Luke Skywalker, you've got Yoda, you've got 3PO and R2, and then you've got the big Darth Vader head in the background. Darth Vader head looks almost identical to the Star Wars one. So, as you say, very poor rendering of Vader. Funny glowing eyes or something going on there. Coming back to Luke, he's, I'm not sure what he's doing. He's holding a very funny looking blaster rifle, isn't he? Got a very strange expression on his face. Not quite sure what he's planning to do with that. Below him, you've got Yoda, and Yoda's seen something that's really amused him. He's got a great big grin on his face, hasn't he? In the middle there, you've got C-3PO. He's been eating the pies, I think. He's looking a bit chunky. And he's got his hand resting on R2-D2's dome. And once again, whoever their artist is, he seems to be able to get R2 right. Because, that's not a bad rendering of R2, but very strange artwork there. Lovely piece of artwork.
The only consistency on that one is the Empire logo is in black. That does appear throughout the Deka Empire Strikes Back. The Luke thing really disturbs me because it looks like he's eyeing up Yoda and he's going to shoot him. I don't know where they got that rifle from.
Oh, man, that's wicked. I love it. That is so cool. I love the colours. I mean, obviously it's been screen printed, so it looks like they've got maybe 4 or 5 colours to use there. And it's just brilliant, really sort of captures the era that it was done in. Really quite naive in some instances, but I think it's really striking. I love it.
It's very striking, but it's that Luke with that rifle. It's kind of mad.
Yeah, where's he had that rifle? It's not even a Star Wars rifle. It looks like I don't know what kind of rifle that is. Like an air rifle.
Yeah, I think we need our American friends to tell us what kind of rifle that is.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in Star Wars. Is it Pruneface's rifle? Has he nicked it? I don't know.
And that Empire Strikes Back logo, I've always loved the one that's on the slant, the italic one. I always loved that logo. Anything with that logo on looks great.
That's what I kind of collect Empire bits and bobs, because I said you see that on the... Now, I'm holding my bowl, my Empire Strikes Back bowl, and because of the amount of colour on it, You know, you've got the figures, but because there's so much colour on it, that black with a red Star Wars on it and the white background, it pops. It really does pop. That's why I like these on display, because the Empire Strikes Back range for me, it's brilliant. I love it. It's one of my favourite bits that's on my display, because it just stands out everywhere. So it's fantastic. Right, putting my Deka down. The third image. Now this is where it flips over with the actual design of things. So we've had two drawn images, and the third display header is actually a piece from the movie. So we flipped it around to not match the rest of it.
I think the Jedi one looks fantastic. Again, this is the first time I've seen this. I didn't know this existed. They've just picked the best shot from Jedi, where you've got Vader coming out of the lift in the Death Star and the two Emperor's Royal Guards either side. Really, really powerful shot, that. And the logo at the top. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of Jedi branded stuff. There's something about the Jedi logo. It just kind of, I don't know, it's not as strong as the Star Wars or Empire branding. And that's why I don't collect it. It's a bit colder. I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me as much. But this looks fantastic.
It's the thinness of the letters within Return of the Jedi I don't like. Was it Times New Roman or whatever it is? You know, Empire Strikes Back, big chunky letters. Star Wars, big chunky letters. That's a little bit kind of, it doesn't kind of. I mean, that logo they've used on there, just to describe what it is. It's exactly the same display header again. They didn't really make something different. They just put a different image on it, kind of like I don't know. It's almost R2D2 shape almost. It's kind of strange. The logo they've got the one with the Return of the Jedi kind of coming out from the background with the red shadowing behind it. It really does strike it, because the rest of that image is very black, and all the red on it, you know, the lights, the Emperor's Royal Guards, and their own logo itself just sticks out. And they've got for kids of all ages underneath Darth Vader. So you've got a sinister murderer, and for kids of all ages. Nothing else fun. And that, of course, doesn't relate at all to the Return of the Jedi range, which is very drawn, very nicely drawn, but that logo doesn't appear like that on any of the Return of the Jedi items. So, it's a real kind of departure from their overall design, which is very odd. But yeah, as you say, it's a beautiful display piece. You would have that on your wall, wouldn't you? Anytime. Right. We kind of come to a bit of an end. I said it is quite a small range. It's easy to get hold of. All this stuff. Now I've not seen. I couldn't find the Ewok stuff online to buy. I'd imagine there'd be a little bit of price there, but it is kind of an oddity of a range. But you can find the loose bits for about. It seems to be cups, anything from about £10 to £20. The bowls similar. Compartment plates usually go about 30 odd. I think you see them on the toys quite a lot, don't you, Mark? They do tend to pop up now and again.
It's like we've said, you know, graphically, it's actually quite a striking product. Specifically the Star Wars and Empire ones, I really do like them. But yeah, it's not a particularly rare product. There is quite a lot of it out there.
There is, but I guess because it was, you know, a popular kind of product. Because I mean, like I said, you do find it mostly used. You do find that it does appear not used, but this stuff must have been stacked hard. I've got a price tag. I've still got a price tag on my plate. $1.99 was the plate. So you're buying a very usable plate for a couple of dollars. You know, it was cheap stuff. Everyone could use it. It's fun at parties. You know, you could wash it. You know, do all sorts with it. Put all sorts of food in it. So you know, it was an easy thing, and you could effectively still use it now. There's so much of it. If you wanted to use it for a retro party, you still could, and you could wash it, and it's surviving. I said, there's only my cup's yellow, but my plate and dish and all that is still white as anything. So it has lasted. It has done the test of time. I think it was. Well, a licensee with success, I would believe. I mean, goodness knows what happened to Deka in the end. Maybe they lost all their licensees. But if anyone knows, if anyone's been to Elizabeth or lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and has any memories, please let us know. I did contact some ex-workers of the company, just kind of like, to tell me what it was like. It was probably just an olfactory. But I've even gone on LinkedIn and asked a few people. But the only replies I got was, I worked there for like a year. And that was it. It was nothing interesting at all. Just that they worked at a company, but there we go. You know, I'm now retired, leave me alone. A nice little range of stuff. Any other kind of comments on the whole range of stuff?
I think it's a nice area for people to dip their toes into. I think a lot of it's readily available. I'd imagine like most collections, they're the odd piece that you just can't track down. Possibly it is the Ewok line. I do like it.
I think it's a really nice little collection. I think if you want to get into Deka stuff, I think it's a reasonably easy. If you want the Star Wars, Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, you could put that together reasonably cheaply. There's not tons of it, but there's enough to make a nice, striking display in any cabinet.